Unlock the sacred breath, 7 days to manifest divine change within through prophetic healing. In the heart of a quaint rural English village, whispers mingled with the morning mist, promising healing that seemed almost magical. Grace, a devoted mother, gathered her children in their humble home, the air thick with the aroma of warm bread and sweet hope. Her heart ached for her beloved son, whose illness cast a shadow over their days. But as she knelt in prayer, invoking St. Jude, a sense of divine presence enveloped them, stirring an anticipation of change that felt electric. That night, something extraordinary happened. In the stillness, a whisper graced Grace's heart, a gentle, angelic voice that spoke of light and miracles. Stars twinkled in response, and a warm glow illuminated their living room, flickering like candlelight, as if heaven itself had drawn near. "Have faith, and your prayers shall be answered," it seemed to say, weaving through the fabric of her soul. Encouraged by the heavenly visitation, Grace felt a fire ignite within. She announced a week of prayer and fasting. The village's annual healing service approached, and she believed this was no mere coincidence. As neighbors gathered in the chapel, they shared her urgency and began to join her sacred quest, a vibrant tapestry of faith and hope weaving through the congregation. The elderly Mrs. Finch, known for her wise counsel, boldly declared, "Miracles happen when hearts unite." Their collective prayers turned the week into a whirlwind of fervent supplication, but the winds of doubt were also blowing. Grace's husband, Thomas, watched as she rallied the village with a mix of concern and skepticism in his eyes. "Believing one tea cure him, Grace? We have doctors for that." His voice carried a heaviness, a veil of despair. A shadow passed over her heart. Love had become a battlefield, where faith clashed with science. As dawn broke on the first day of her sacred week, villagers rose with newfound energy, yet whispers of doubts lingered. Friends exchanged worried glances, eyes filled with confusion. "Is this path truly blessed?" some questioned. Grace felt it challenging to hold her ground as skeptics emerged like dark clouds against a rising sun. Before long, a mysterious stranger appeared, a figure cloaked in a deep blue aura, wandering through the village square. "I possess secrets buried in your community's layers of time," he spoke cryptically, drawing curious onlookers. Grace knew she must connect with him. Perhaps beneath their cherished stories lay the threads of miracles. But one evening, just as hope surged, an alarming turn shook her world. Her son's condition worsened, and uncertainty engulfed their home. Grace wrestled with her spirit, engulfed in a whirlpool of longing and fear. Had her faith brought them here, or had she crossed a line into foolishness? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each passing hour, the silhouette of the stranger lingered in Grace's mind. Could he hold the key to the healing her family yearned for? The clock was ticking. Hope nestled sacredly in her heart, yet doubt nipped at its edges. What lay on the horizon could change everything for her family, for the village, and perhaps even for generations to come. As she battled her deepest fears and clung to faith, she wondered, were they destined to witness a miracle that would bind them all together in a glorious union of restored hope? Would she have the strength to embrace the extraordinary, or would darkness claim her beloved son? The answers remained tantalizingly out of reach as the healing service loomed nearer, each moment brimming with divine mystery. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, Grace's heart raced with anticipation. The service was only hours away, and the weight of her son's suffering pressed heavily on her spirit. She paced the small confines of her kitchen, the silence broken only by the crackling embers in the fireplace. Would the fervent prayers of the village reach heaven? Would their combined faith make a difference? Eager for guidance, Grace recalled the words of the mysterious stranger. What secrets could he unveil? The very thought of uncharted paths filled her with both excitement and trepidation. She decided to seek him out once more, hoping to glean wisdom from his enigmatic presence. Summoning courage, she took a deep breath, allowing hope to tether her fears. The village square buzzed with the energy of gathered souls. Lanterns flickered like stars brought down to earth, and the air was sweet with the smell of blooming flowers. Grace scanned the crowd, searching for the man in blue. As she wrapped her arms tightly around herself, doubts crept in again. What if the stranger was nothing more than an illusion, a mirage of her desperate longing? Then, as if drawn by an unseen force, Grace caught a glimpse of him standing alone beneath an ancient oak tree. His deep blue aura glowed with an inviting warmth. With newfound resolve, she approached, each step ignited by a prayerful whisper. Before she could speak, he turned to her, those piercing eyes filled with understanding. "I have waited for you, Grace," he said softly. There was a knowing in his gaze, a spiritual recognition. "Can you help my son?" she asked, her voice trembling. "He is suffering, and I fear I've put my faith above reason." "Faith walks a narrow path, where doubt lingers on the side," the stranger replied, his voice like a soothing balm. "But it is also a bridge to the miraculous. The very act of seeking answers is a sign that your spirit yearns for the divine." Tears pricked the corners of Grace's eyes as she tried to balance her faith and her fears. "What must I do?" she implored, desperate for direction. "Remember this," he said, leaning closer, "in the coming hours, embrace the light that envelopes you. Your prayers are seeds, tend to them with love and intention. But beware, darkness often disguises itself as fear, trying to snuff out the flame of hope." With those poignant words, a sudden gust of wind spiraled through the square, rustling the leaves and sending a thrill down Grace's spine. She nodded, filled with deliberate purpose. Even in the face of uncertainty, she sensed a flicker of divine assurance in her spirit. As the village began to gather for the service, Grace returned, her heart alive with a blend of faith and expectancy. She joined her neighbors, their voices rising in a symphony of prayers, harmonizing with a collective heart yearning for healing. Moments stretched into eternity as they invoked blessings upon one another, and the air shimmered with spiritual energy. The atmosphere thickened, as if heaven was drawing nearer. Grace felt emboldened, a unity thriving within the congregation that transcended their doubts. As the candles were lit, illuminating the chapel with soft, flickering light, the air crackled with anticipation. Many held hands, forming a sacred circle of connection. Hearts beat in rhythm, and she could almost hear the angels' wings whispering among them, but as the service unfolded, a chill gripped Grace's heart. Could they truly witness a miracle? Would the light eclipse the darkness that threatened to swallow her family whole? "Pray with unwavering hearts, beloved," Mrs. Finch's voice rang through the chapel, strong and resolute. "This is our moment." As they lifted their voices in unison, Grace's spirit soared amidst doubt. The stranger's teachings flared to life within her. Could they be on the brink of something extraordinary? And just as the final prayer echoed above, a knock resounded at the chapel doors, echoing like a heartbeat in the stillness. What awaited them on the other side? Would it be a harbinger of hope or despair? In that moment, everything seemed to hinge upon the answer. The knock reverberated through the chapel, cutting through the sea of prayer like a knife. Grace's heart thudded violently in her chest. All eyes turned toward the door, anticipation thickening the air. She could feel the prayers swirling around them, a warm embrace of faith that momentarily held the darkness at bay. Yet, the uncertainty that loomed just beyond those wooden doors felt overpowering. "Open it!" a voice urged from the back, breaking the spell of silence. With a nod from Mrs. Finch, two members stepped forward, their hands trembling slightly as they gripped the door handle. Grace held her breath, light and dark waging war in her soul. What lay on the other side? At that moment, she clung to the stranger's words. The light that envelopes would guide them through. The door creaked open slowly, revealing a shadowy figure illuminated by the flickering candlelight. It was a woman, her face obscured by a hooded cloak. But as she stepped forward, the glow of the chapel seemed to embrace her. Grace felt the air shift, a wave of both fear and hope washing over the congregation. "Mother," the woman spoke, her voice a melody that resonated deep within Grace's heart. "It is I." The recognition came in waves, stirring the deepest recesses of her soul. It was Isabel, her daughter, who had vanished without a trace years ago. Grace's heart clenched, tears flooding her eyes as joy wrestled with disbelief. "Isabel. How is this possible?" Grace stumbled over her words, the years of heartache twisting into something wholly unexpected. Isabel stepped into the chapel, shedding the cloak that had concealed her. The faint scent of roses filled the air around her, an aroma entwined with divine connection. "I have traveled far, guided by the light of our prayers. I was lost, but not forgotten. Mom, love brought me home." As Isabel crossed the threshold, a radiant glow surrounded her, illuminating not just her face but the very fabric of the chapel. Every heart present felt it, a surge of grace that flowed like a river, quenching their thirst for the miraculous. Grace approached her daughter, disbelief fading into pure, unadulterated joy. The warmth of their embrace swelled around them, a cocoon spun from years of hope and waiting. "Tell us what happened," Grace whispered, her voice trembling with wonder. "Where have you been?" But before Isabel could respond, the flicker of candlelight flickered with greater intensity, casting shadows that danced like spirits along the walls. An ethereal calm enveloped the congregation, drawing them into a deeper connection with the divine. They could feel something monumental brewing, an undercurrent of transformation washing over the chapel. "Let us pray," Mrs. Finch's voice rose with strength, rallying the villagers. "We stand on holy ground, witnessing a miracle." With hands united, they formed a circle, hearts pounding in rhythm. Grace held Isabel close, feeling her breath, a sacred reminder that love transcends both time and distance. Together, they raised their voices upwards, a tidal wave of devotion reaching beyond the veil, beyond the ordinary, and in that divine moment, as prayers mingled with light, the tension within the chapel reached its peak. Would the answer to their supplications arise? Could Grace's faith bridge the gap between despair and the extraordinary? A soft whisper echoed through the hearts of the congregation: "Faith ignites transformation, witness the power of love." Grace's eyes widened, her spirit stirring as the room shimmered with unexplainable beauty. What remained unspoken danced in the midst of their prayers. Nothing felt certain, yet everything hung on the edge of revelation. Then, as if time itself paused, a soft glow began to pulse from Isabel's heart, radiating warmth that filled the chapel with sacred promise. But what would it reveal? Would this spark ignite a transformation, or was it merely the beginning of something even greater? The mysteries of the divine rested heavy in the air, and Grace could feel it. Something extraordinary was on the brink of unfolding. The energy crackled like a live wire as Isabel stood in the heart of the chapel, her presence transforming the atmosphere. Grace could feel it, the weight of years spent in longing and loss melting away, replaced by something electric, something real. The congregation held its breath, waiting for the moment to bloom, waiting for clarity to emerge from the mystery. Isabel looked around, her eyes filled with penetrating depth, seeming to see not just the people, but their very souls, their fears and hopes laid bare. "I was taken," she began, her voice even and steady. "Not by force, but by purpose. The light that guided me, it was never darkness. I was meant to wander, to learn, to grow." With each word, the pulsing glow from Isabel's heart intensified, illuminating the chapel like 1,000 crystal prisms. In that moment, Grace realized, they were witnessing more than just a daughter's return. It was a holy unveiling, an awakening to possibilities that stretched far beyond the walls of their small village. Gasps rippled through the congregation, the revelation echoed with understanding. The trials they faced were not simply burdens, they were part of a greater tapestry. "Our lives are threads in a divine design," Isabel continued, now channeling a wisdom that felt beyond her years. "Every moment of doubt, every tear shed, was woven together by love, a love that would not let us go." Grace felt tears streaming down her cheeks, her heart a mix of joy and sorrow, an exquisite tapestry of human experience. The room seemed to resonate with the same force. Each member of the congregation was touched by this cosmic truth. The shadows of despair began to lift, replaced with sparkles of hope that danced like starlight across their faces. Mrs. Finch, filled with righteous fervor, raised her voice once more, "Ask, and you shall receive. Seek, and you shall find. We need only to lift our hearts in faith." Her words acted like a gentle breeze fanning the flames of hope. At once, voices united, the prayers becoming like wings, carrying their desires upward to the divine. Through the heavenly harmony, Grace's spirit soared. She glanced at Isabel, the radiant woman before her, now a vessel of transformation. "What do we do?" she implored. Isabel took a step closer, the light emanating from her brightening all the more as she mirrored her mother's yearning gaze. "We must embrace who we are, whole beings of light," Isabel replied softly, gently reaching for Grace's hands. "Love is our greatest weapon, and courage our strongest armor. Only by believing in the impossible can we manifest the miraculous." A hush fell over the room as these words hung in the air like the aftermath of a reverent silence. Each heart began to stir once more, considering the weight of this call to embrace love in its deepest forms, to usher in miracles through their faith. Suddenly, the glow radiating from Isabel expanded, spilling over into the hearts of the congregation. Each person felt a shift, a stirring in their very souls, as if the heavens were inviting them to awaken to their purpose. The saints of old seemed to stand amongst them, nodding in approval, sensing the waves of faith emanating from this gathering. But far beyond the chapel's sanctuary, beyond visible realms, something was shifting. The world outside awaited a new dawn. Grace felt it, a tremor of profound change coursing through the air, urging them to act. Yet, as the divine energy pulsed and filled every heart, an uncertainty loomed. What would this transformation look like? How would their renewed belief reshape their lives? As Isabel opened her mouth to speak once more, a sudden darkness seeped through, casting fleeting shadows on their radiant moment. Was this opposition inevitable? Grace's hope mingled with anxiety, a question echoing softly, resonating in that sacred space: where do we go from here? The congregation, hearts still alight with possibility, awaited the next revelation. The journey had only just begun. The air hung heavy with anticipation as Isabel's gaze intensified, her presence a lighthouse in the rising tide of uncertainty. Silence wrapped around them, thick and palpable. Yet, just beneath the surface, the heartbeat of hope thrummed steadily, reminding each soul that they stood at the brink of something extraordinary. "Beloved," Isabel's voice broke the stillness, resonating like an ancient bell. "Fear not the shadows that linger at the edges of your experience. They are the shadows of yesterday, mere echoes of doubt. Today is a new canvas, a divine invitation to create anew." Grace felt each word strike chords within her, rippling through her consciousness. The congregation began to react, whispers of agreement rising and echoing like birds taking flight. "I tell you," Isabel continued, her eyes ignited with fervor, "the very act of seeking has power. When our hearts align with divine intent, we unlock not just change, but transformation. The universe eagerly conspired to manifest our most profound desires." The room filled with quiet gasps as the truth settled in. Every heart beat as one together. They were not merely individuals with their burdens, but a collective force forged by faith. An energy swirled, tangible as the very air they breathed. Mrs. Finch stood once more, her hands lifted towards the heavens, voice strong. "Let us declare our intentions. Let us cast away doubt and step into the light of faith." One by one, others rose to join her, pouring forth their hopes and dreams, their desires mingling in a tapestry of faith. "We seek healing. We desire unity. We rise for peace." Each declaration was like a stone tossed into the river of sacred energy, rippling outward, creating waves of possibility. Grace closed her eyes, surrendering to the atmosphere charged with divine promise. She envisioned dreams she had tucked away, bringing them forth to dance in the light that now enveloped the chapel. Tears flowed freely, not of sadness, but of a joy so profound it felt like a healing balm on her spirit. "Look around," Isabel urged, gesturing to the radiant expressions around her. "Every face reflects a miracle in the making. Each heart, a vessel of the divine. Together, we are igniting fires of change in not just ourselves, but in our families, our community, the very world." The warmth of her words melted away the last remnants of hesitation within the congregation. They stood ready to move forward, not in fear, but in faith. They united in a circle of hands, a web of strength woven by love. But above this fervent wave of hope, a shadow still loomed. Grace felt it nagging at the fringes of her heart, a silent whisper casting doubts in the corners of her mind. What if? Questions danced like specters, shrouding the clarity Isabel had sparked. Isabel's voice rose above the turmoil, soothing and steady. Doubts are like clouds on a sunny day, they can obscure the light, but they cannot diminish it. Remember, you are not alone. The power of our unity, our shared dreams, it shields us. As they prayed, tears flowed, laughter erupted. The collective sound created a symphony of faith, shaking the very foundations of their earthly existence. Yet deep within, Grace knew the journey was only beginning. How would they face the inevitable shadows that would seek to extinguish their flame? As she opened her eyes, an unshakable resolve formed within her heart. "Now, beloved, let us step boldly into the embrace of our destiny," Isabel concluded, eyes sparkling. "What message does the universe whisper to you today? And how shall you answer?" As the congregation held its breath, a new question lingered in the air, inviting exploration and fueling their transformed spirit. What if we embraced every challenge as an echo of the divine calling us to rise? As the energy of the room settled into a gentle hum, Grace felt a stirring within her. The words of Isabel, though powerful, were just the beginning. The whispers in her heart grew louder, urging her to pay attention to the corners of her spirit that still battled with doubt. Isabel's gaze swept across the congregation, like a shepherd tending to her flock. "Do not fear the unknown, dear ones. Each of you has a divine light waiting to be unleashed. Close your eyes again and listen." They obeyed, closing their eyes, letting the warmth of shared faith envelop them like a blanket. The soft rustling of fabric filled the silence as they surrendered to the moment. "Picture the light inside you," Isabel continued, her voice a soothing balm. "What color does it shine? What shape does it take? A spark? A flame? Allow your imagination to step forward. This light is your divine inheritance, and it yearns to illuminate the shadows of your life." Grace envisioned a golden light expanding in her chest, growing brighter with each breath. With every inhale, she felt the weight of her doubts start to lift, transforming into something vibrant. Each exhale was a release, a letting go of the shackles that had held her back. "Breathe into this light," Isabel urged, echoing the rhythm of their hearts. "Feel it grow, transforming fear into courage, pain into purpose. This is the beginning of your awakening. Let it flow." Gradually, the sound of breathing deepened, creating a wave of connection among them. It was unity in the purest sense, their breaths mingling like whispers in a sacred conversation with the universe itself. "I see you," Isabel exclaimed, her eyes sparkling brighter than before. "Each of you is encircled by divine beings who celebrate your transformation. They cheer for you, urging you to break free from the past. Your light is not just a gift for you, it's meant to shine upon the world." At her words, Grace's heart swelled. She could almost feel the presence of those divine beings, wrapping her in encouragement and love. In her mind, she saw her dreams weaving with the dreams of others, a tapestry of divine intention. Then, within this beautiful moment of shared revelation, Grace couldn't ignore the thoughts creeping back. "But what if it's too hard? What if I fail?" She opened her eyes as if seeking reassurance, scanning the faces of her companions, each one reflecting a flicker of their own inner light. Isabel caught the uncertainty in her gaze. "Beloved," she addressed with such warmth, "failure is not the end, it's a lesson wrapped in love. Remember, it's about progress, not perfection. We rise together, supported by the grace of our community." The collective voices responded, lifting the air again, "We rise together." The affirmation bubbled exuberantly, echoing off the chapel walls. "Let us now take a bold step," Isabel proclaimed, her spirit vibrant. Imagine what nudging, whispering opportunities await you this week. What steps are you willing to take toward your dreams? With each heartbeat, Grace envisioned those steps more clearly. It was no longer a solitary trek. They were all embarking on this journey together, each carrying their unique ambitions and hopes. Then Isabel paused, her expression turning serious yet hopeful. Remember, every challenge you face this week will be a reflection of your commitment to your destiny. Will you choose to see these moments as pathways given to awaken your gifts? The room resonated with collective amens, hearts accelerating with possibility. This new question, so simple yet profound, hung in the air long after Isabel spoke. As they closed in prayer, Grace pondered her next move. She felt the excitement and fear intertwine, ready to dance. Could she truly embrace each challenge ahead as part of the divine symphony in her life? And what revelations awaited her as she opened the door to the experiences unfolding? The atmosphere around them shifted, pulsing with potential, igniting curiosity deep within. Their faith lit the path before them, beckoning for clarity and courage. What lay ahead was steeped in mystery, waiting to be uncovered. Would they step forward into the whispers of the universe? In that divine moment, the next chapter of their journey commenced, shrouded in wonder and anticipation. The following week dawned with a softness that cradled the town in its embrace. Grace awoke early, sunlight pouring through her window, casting golden patterns on the walls like intricate lace. She breathed deeply, allowing the warmth to seep into her spirit, igniting the golden light she had envisioned just days before. As she moved through her morning routine, the echoes of Isabel's words danced in her mind. Imagine what nudging, whispering opportunities await you this week. They were not just words, they felt like an invitation to engage in a sacred dance of discovery. Grace stepped outside, where the air was crisp and fragrant with the promise of new beginnings. She could hear the birds singing their morning hymns, each note a reminder that life was bursting with possibilities. She closed her eyes again, allowing herself to be fully present, her heart swelling with gratitude. Each beat reminded her of the divine heartbeat connecting her to everything around her. Then it hit her, a thought so clear it felt like a gentle prod from the universe. She would reach out to her old friend Sarah. The two had drifted apart, caught in the tides of life. The idea of reconnecting filled her with both excitement and apprehension. Could she really take that step? That evening, guided by the persistent nudge, she picked up her phone. Her fingers quivered slightly as she typed a simple message. "Hey, Sarah. It's been a while. I'd love to catch up. Are you free?" Sending the message felt like sending her heart into the unknown, vulnerable yet hopeful. Would it be welcomed, or would it echo back with silence? Little did she know, sending that message would spark a series of miraculous responses. Later that week, they met at a local cafe, the familiar scent of coffee igniting memories long buried. Sarah arrived with a radiant smile, and as they embraced, Grace felt the barriers of time dissolve. They settled into easy conversation, laughter weaving through their words, weaving once again a bond that had faded but now began to glow with renewed purpose. As the chatter flowed, Grace shared her journey of faith and awakening. Sarah listened intently, her eyes brightening with each revelation. The joy of connection shone brightly around them, wrapping them in a warm cocoon of shared possibilities. It was then that Sarah revealed her own struggles and desires for change, igniting a spark of mutual support. "Can you believe we've both been searching?" Sarah exclaimed, her heart laid bare. "What if we embarked on this journey together? Help each other grow?" Grace's heart danced at the thought. It was a confirmation, a divine threading of their lives through their shared experience. Over time, their connection deepened. They began to meet regularly, sharing not just dreams but also fears as they navigated the uncharted waters of their lives. Each gathering felt significant, a sacred time set apart to cultivate their newfound sisterhood, a testament to the power of stepping into the unknown. However, challenges arose. One evening, as they sat across from each other in the cafe, Sarah struggled with a particular decision, one that held heavy implications for her future. Grace felt the familiar stirrings of doubt bubble up within her. What if we fail to help each other? She thought. Sensing the heaviness, Grace shared her fear aloud, an echo of Isabel's voice guiding them through the fear of failure. What if we simply see these challenges as opportunities to grow? What if they reveal the true depth of our gifts? A moment of silence hung in the air, heavy with thought before Sarah broke it with a soft smile. You're right. Growth isn't easy, but it is beautiful. From that evening on, they began to view each challenge as a sacred lesson. The doubts and fears started to mold into stepping stones toward their intentions, lighting their path with clarity and courage. As they ventured through their journeys, something miraculous shifted. Grace started to notice opportunities unfolding not just for her but for the community around her. The chatter of lives intertwining, spirits lifting in unison, sparked a powerful wave of transformation that spilled beyond their intimate circle, and yet, hovering over all the progress they made was a whisper. What if there's more? What greater actions await? As dusk settled over the town, Grace looked at Sarah, their voices mingling in the tender glow of hope. This chapter was only the beginning, and ahead lay a path of even greater significance. Would they answer the call of the unknown, or would they linger in their comfort zones? The question hung in the air, ready to propel them to the next phase of their journey, cloaked in divine purpose. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a palette of fiery hues across the sky, Grace felt the weight of possibility settling around her like a comforting blanket. There was something stirring deep within her, a sense that they were on the brink of something truly transformative. It wasn't just their rekindled friendship, it was a movement, a sacred awakening within themselves and their community. In the days that followed, the connection between Grace and Sarah blossomed like spring flowers breaking through the snow. They began to attend local events, supporting endeavors that sparked joy within the townsfolk. Every conversation they shared, every encounter with others, felt charged with a purpose, as if they were woven into the grand tapestry of divine destiny. One afternoon, through the laughter and chatter of a vibrant market day, they stumbled upon a small booth decorated with colorful banners. A sign read, "Spiritual Healing Sessions, Unlock Your Inner Light." Grace's eyes lit up. What if we try this? She suggested, her voice filled with excitement. Sarah, intrigued yet unsure, hesitated for a moment. But what if it's not for us? What if we're disappointed? Grace smirked, a spark dancing in her eyes. But what if we find exactly what we need? The joy of exploration triumphed over the fear of the unknown, and they signed up for the next session. The room was softly lit, a sanctuary of peace. As they took their seats, an aura of tranquility enveloped them. The healer spoke sweetly, her voice weaving through the dim light like a gentle breeze, guiding them through a visualization that beckoned them to connect with their deepest selves. Close your eyes, she instructed. Breathe in the life around you. Feel how it nourishes your spirit. Imagine releasing everything that no longer serves you. Grace followed her words, inhaling deeply, feeling the air fill her lungs. It was refreshing, invigorating. And then, as she exhaled, she sensed burdens slipping away, doubts, regrets, fears. Sarah beside her mirrored the experience, and together they began to sense a flow of energy weaving between them, encouraging the emergence of their true selves. The session unfolded, revealing insights that had long been hidden under layers of distraction and worry. Each heartbeat resonated with understanding, a heavenly rhythm encouraging them to embrace their journeys and trust the movements of their spirits. As they leaned on each other for support, emerging from the experience, Grace felt a lightness, a rebirth of purpose. Can you feel it? She whispered to Sarah as they exited, hands clasped tightly, hearts overflowing. We've unlocked something special. On their way home, they discussed the waves of clarity that washed over them, awakening new dreams of service, connection, and creativity. Dreams that could reshape not just their lives but ripple through the community's hearts. As they approached the cafe, they spotted a small gathering. A group of friends anxiously exchanging words, seeking guidance for a troubling issue plaguing an acquaintance. The weight of concern hung heavy in the air, but instead of shying away, Grace and Sarah felt a pull toward them, an opportunity to share what they had discovered. With confidence ignited by their session, they stepped forward, offering a listening ear. Could we pray together? Grace asked softly, and to her amazement, the hesitance faded, and they were welcomed into the circle. As they took hands, Grace felt a rush of warmth surrounding her, a tangible presence of hope mingling with the shared anxieties. They prayed for healing, wisdom, and clarity. Each word spoken was like a sacred mantra, lifting the weight of doubt. Somewhere amid the flowing prayers, the heaviness in all their hearts began to lighten. It became clear that the very act of coming together, the willingness to open themselves to the divine, was a transformative experience. Suddenly, Sarah paused mid-prayer, her voice quivering with urgency. "What if we start a weekly gathering? Not just for us, but for everyone seeking guidance or healing." The idea hung in the air, electric and alive. Grace's pulse quickened. A collective gasp from the group broke into applause, each heart ignited with thrilling possibility. "Yes," Grace whispered, a prayer of gratitude escaping her lips. "This truly is just the beginning." But as the claps faded and smiles spread across faces, a new whisper began to echo inside Grace's mind. A thought that nudged her with urgency: what if this wasn't just about healing alone? What if it was the first step towards something much larger, something beyond their wildest dreams? As the sun set, casting an ethereal glow over their shared moment, Grace and Sarah stood before their friends, embers of inspiration crackling in the air. Though a spark was lit that day, a greater journey awaited. Would they seize the opportunity to lead their community into a new era of unity and healing? Each soul present felt that pivotal moment, poised on the brink of awakening. The question lingered, like an unsung hymn, inviting them to take the next step into the profound and unknown. The first week of their new gathering arrived, and the air was thick with anticipation. Grace could hardly contain her excitement as she and Sarah prepared the small community hall. Soft candles flickered, casting shadows that danced along the wooden walls, a gentle reminder of the light they wished to bring forth into the lives of others. As the members trickled in, talking and laughing, she could see the nervousness mirrored in many eyes, just like hers felt a week before. But today, there was a lightness that filled the space, a sense of sacred expectation pulsing in rhythm with their hearts. Each hug shared, every smile exchanged became a thread weaving their community closer together. Gathering in a circle, they introduced themselves and shared bits of their journeys. Grace felt a warmth swell inside her as each story unfolded, revealing battles fought, hopes long forgotten, and dreams snuffed out by the trials of life. There was power in vulnerability, and she sensed their collective spirit yearning for healing. "Today, we're here to unlock the breath," Grace began, feeling the weight of the moment. "Not just any breath, but the sacred breath that connects us to the divine." With that, she led them in a gentle breathing exercise. "Breathe in what serves you, breathe out what no longer brings life," she guided. The room became a symphony of collective inhales and exhales, harmonizing like a choir, lifting their voices in unison. As they flowed into the meditation, Grace guided them through the sacred imagery of light filling their beings, washing over their worries and pains. She could sense a gentle stirring, a sacred presence cradling them. Stillness enveloped the room as if heaven itself had paused to listen. "Feel the weight of burden slipping away," she whispered, a gentle joy rising within her. "We are meant for more than this, more than our fears." Sarah, alongside her, offered affirmations that resonated with notes of faith and encouragement. "You are worthy. You are loved." Her voice rose, igniting flickers of hope in weary hearts. Murmurs of agreement filled the air, an echo of affirmation circling the room, lifting those who once doubted. As the time drew near to close, Grace sensed a shift, the air thickening with a palpable energy. A woman named Clara, who had been listening quietly, suddenly spoke up. "I didn't believe this would help," she admitted, her voice trembling. "But something shifted in me. I feel light." Applause erupted as others chimed in, echoing Clara's sentiments. They had unlocked something powerful together. An initial crack surged in the walls that had housed isolation for too long. Joy washed over Grace like a gentle tide as she realized that they were forging a new path. The gathering had not only birthed a space for healing but had inadvertently become a sanctuary for hope. But somewhere amid the excitement, a thought fluttered gently through her mind, a potential that felt almost too big to grasp. What if this was just the beginning of a deeper calling? They dispersed into the night, each heart carrying a spark that danced against the backdrop of the stars. Grace caught Sarah's eye, and they exchanged knowing smiles, a silent promise forming between them of what was yet to come. As nights fell and gatherings continued, they began to witness not only transformations within themselves but also stirring changes in the community. A rekindled belief in love, compassion, and healing shimmered like a newfound light, urging the larger town to awaken. Yet beneath the surface, a question loomed, more urgent than when they first began: what if this was not merely about personal healing? What if they were being called to something even greater? The echo of that question felt like a divine whisper, nudging them toward the unknown, hinting at possibilities that lay beyond their imaginations. Would they dare to answer? The night of the second gathering dawned, and the air buzzed with an electric anticipation. Grace stood before the mirror, smoothing her hair. She reflected on the faces that had begun to fill the hall, a community awakening to their divine potential. She took a deep breath, invoking the sacred breath they had begun to embrace together. Tonight, God, let us manifest miracles. She whispered fervently. As the clock struck 7, the familiar sounds of laughter and hushed whispers floated through the hallway, guiding attendees to the gathering space. Grace and Sarah, illuminated by candlelight, welcomed everyone with open arms, each smile igniting the room with warmth. Clara, her face aglow, rushed forward. "I've been waiting for this," she exclaimed, embracing Grace. "Last week changed everything." Their circle formed once again, hands clasped together, connections stitched tighter with each gathering. "Tonight," Grace announced, her voice steady, "we take another step forward on this divine journey. We are called to not just share our light, but to illuminate our community." A ripple of agreement traveled through the hearts around her, a unified heartbeat pulsing with intention. The night unfolded like a beautiful tapestry woven with threads of faith and hope. As they delved deeper into their meditations, Sarah guided them through visualizations that carried each participant beyond their fears, inviting them to embrace their divine purpose. "Imagine the world reshaped by your light," she encouraged, her voice soft yet powerful. "Each one of you holds the power to inspire change." Grace watched the transformation as faces softened, eyes closed in surrender. "Feel the weight of the past dissipate," she murmured gently, "and breathe in the promise of new beginnings." A sense of harmony enveloped them. That sacred breath, not just a phrase but a divine reality they embodied. Moments later, Amelia, a quiet member of the group, stood, her hands trembling. "I feel compelled to share," she said, her voice breaking the stillness. "I've battled illness for years. This community's embrace of faith calls me to heal. Can we pray for those outside, too?" Her words sparked an eruption of murmurs, the significance of their gathering ignited like wildfire. "Yes. Yes." Clara responded enthusiastically. "Let us extend our light beyond these walls." The energy swelled, a chorus of hearts intertwining. In that moment, the evening shifted from a personal gathering into a collective campaign fueled by divine purpose. They gathered closer, resolved and unified. Grace encouraged them to envision the town, to breathe life into their shared dreams of healing and restoration. "Imagine people coming together, not just us here, but everyone. We can form a network, a wave of divine intention sweeping through our streets, our homes, calling others to the light." The enthusiasm spread, the air thick with promise. Slowly and reverently, they began to offer prayers aloud, one after another. For healing, for unity, for love. Their voices crescendoed, weaving a network of hope that reached beyond the physical realm, as if their collective faith was drawing in the broken and lost. A hush fell as Grace felt the room pulse with energy. Her heart swelled. "Now, let us take it further," she breathed. "Next week let us meet at the town square. Let us invite everyone. We will share our testimonies, unleash our light into the community, and pray as one." "Yes. Let us do it," came the chorus of voices overcome by the spirit mingling within them. Clarion calls to action erupted, plans unfurling in the air, laying the groundwork for an event that would echo through every heart in their village. As they closed with a prayer, Grace felt a divine presence enveloping them. It was joy unexplainable, pure, transformative. Would it bear fruit? Would they transform doubts into dreams? She had no doubt. Their moves felt inevitably sacred. In the days that followed, the word of their gathering spread. People shared stories, inviting friends and neighbors to join. Grace watched the energy build like a wave rising to the shore, infused with excitement mixed with trepidation. Would they turn faith into action? Would the lives they touched embrace this awakening? Finally, the day arrived. The sun shone bright, illuminating every corner of the square. Hearts poised, Grace gazed at the sea of faces gathered, some familiar, others unknown. A divine orchestration played in the atmosphere, a blending of hopes, dreams, and prayers. Today, we stand not just for ourselves, Grace declared, raising her hands toward the sky, but for our community, for every heart that feels alone. Today, we declare our shared light, and we call others home. Cheers erupted, a symphony of affirmations vibrated through the crowd, families embraced one another. Strangers joined hands. The collective spirit ignited, shifting toward a new era of love. And in that sacred moment, as prayers rose to meet the heavens, clarity flooded Grace's heart. This was not just about healing, it was about awakening the world to the unfathomable power of faith and unity. As Grace gazed into the faces around her, she felt the divine presence thick in the air, wrapping everyone in a warm embrace. The journey had only just begun. They would transform their fears into light, unlock the sacred breath that surged within, and shine forth for all to witness. Let us keep our hearts open, she said, her voice steady, as waves of healing swept through the crowd. This is just the beginning. Let us walk forward, together. With renewed spirit and fervor, they prepared not only to embrace change but to be the change. This was the divine calling of their lives, the whisper of destiny, a testimony of faith manifesting before their very eyes. And now, brothers and sisters, I urge you, do not let this moment slip through your fingers. You need to subscribe now to our channel. Don't wait even one more second to share this story that transforms lives. Leave a like to feed the algorithm. A simple act carries so much weight. Your testimony matters. Comment below with your reactions and what this story means to you. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this manifestation. Each action you take helps amplify our divine message. Step boldly into faith.